everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the video on question 4 on the AQA GCSE English and English language papers for the higher tier. In the first video I gave you the lowdown on question 4 and what you needed to do in order to get a top band answer. We briefly looked at the kind of language features that you will find in each of the sources that you are given. We discussed the effects of those language features and how you needed to comment on those within your answers. And we also talked about how you need to compare in this question in order to get your full marks answer. So I gave you this extract to read through, and what I wanted you to do was to pick out any language features within it, and I wanted you to think about what the words suggested and the effect on the reader. Bearing in mind that it is a biographical piece and its purpose was to entertain and to inform the reader. So these are the kinds of things I picked out when I read through. You may have some different things, that's fine. There are more than what I've highlighted, but these are the ones I'm going to go through and discuss with you now. So as I discussed in part 1, the first things to look for are facts, opinions, and powerful adjectives and verbs. So first of all, I'd like to talk about the powerful adjectives that are used within this extract. So I picked out the word a swarm. Okay, now I'm not sure if you are aware of what the word a swarm means, but please do look it up in the dictionary and find out. Basically, it means that you've got a busy or bustling environment. So if we think about this situation that Bryson's in, he's on a ferry, he's just arrived and everybody wants to disembark off the ferry. So really that word a swarm portrays a feeling of the situation almost being out of control. And it's almost as if he is surrounded and he can't escape. Okay, he's got no choice but to follow the crowd off the ferry, and we know that from being in situations where we've had to queue to get off somewhere or queue to get in somewhere, and that sometimes it can feel very claustrophobic and out of control. So we would discuss that in our inference and suggestion in our explanation, and we would also need to think about the effect on the reader. Well, we know it's an entertaining piece, so we could discuss how it creates a vivid image in the reader's mind of that situation being out of control and the amount of people that are there, and how Bryson cannot escape. So that's the kind of detail that we would go into with that particular word. Just that one word gives us so much information and so many things that we could suggest and infer about it. So if we look at the other one I've picked out, which is this low lit here, that's another powerful adjective. So we've got low lit streets, and obviously this illustrates to the reader that it's quite dark. We know that he's arrived on the midnight ferry, so it's probably quite an oppressive atmosphere perhaps. It could convey a sense of danger or as if something terrible is about to happen. It adds to the dramatic impact of the extract, and that would be your effect on the reader. So it's adding to the drama the fact that he's arrived in this place, an unknown place to him, and there are low lit streets, and it's almost as if something's just around the corner. So we would discuss that detail with that particular adjective. And we've also got powerful verbs used in here. If we look at this word poured, okay, it says lorries poured forth, okay? So we could say that that demonstrates, the use of the verb there demonstrates how busy the place was, how busy the ferry is, with everybody wanting to get off all at once. And the word poured signifies to the reader that there's a constant flow of people. It's not just drips, of people getting off one at a time. You've got a constant flow of people getting off that ferry, and it's all happening in one direction, okay? It's likely that Bryson has little room for movement, really, if we think about it. And again, it's about creating that vivid image in the reader's mind of that situation that Bryson is in, and that he's got no choice but to follow that flow of traffic. Right, so we've done powerful adjectives and powerful verbs. And if we wanted to, in our answer, we could write an overall comment of how powerful verbs and adjectives are used within the source. So, excuse me, so we could say that they are used in this particular extract to create a sense of uncertainty, really. It creates a sense of danger, or as if something untoward is about to happen. And it shows that Bill Bryson's in quite a vulnerable position. So we could just use that overall statement within our answer just to tell the examiner that we've understood that the use of those adjectives and the verbs has created those images in the reader's mind. So we've also got a list here, or you could even say it's a rule of three because it's three things listed together. Again, this links with how much is going on at the time, that it's a very orderly process in which these people are getting off. Obviously, this has happened on many occasions and they've got a process that must be followed. Obviously, despite the number of people that are coming off, everything is done in this particular order. So you could discuss that within your explanation as well. And then we've got the use of this fact here, and it says for 20 minutes the terminal area was a swarm. Obviously 20 minutes is quite an extensive length of time, really. So that backs up what Bryson's saying about how many people are getting off and how busy it was, how the area was a swarm. And facts are generally always used to evidence an opinion of the person at the time. So obviously Bryson's opinion is that it is busy and almost out of control. So that fact backs up to the reader and emphasises that this is a busy situation and that there was no way that he was going to be able to get off that ferry any quicker than they allowed him to, really. Okay, so that again we would say in our effect on the reader that the fact backs up or evidence what Bryson is saying about it being a very bustling atmosphere. So what we've done there is we've pulled out the language features. We've done fact, we've done list, we've done powerful adjectives and verbs. We've thought about what those words suggest, but we've also thought about what is the effect on the reader. Okay, so why has Bryson included that particular fact or that particular verb? And that's what you need to do when you're analysing your sources in the exam. So when you're in the exam, you know that you've got to compare. So if it were me, I'd do either a table, or you can do a Venn diagram like this, or you can do a double bubble if you're aware of what they are. And it's just an easy way of figuring out which language features are used in both of the sources that you're going to be answering on. So if you look here, you can see I've got simile, personification, triplet and rule of three on source 3. Those are the ones I've picked out of source 3, for example. If we look over this side, on source 1 and 2, I've got alliteration, pun, rhetorical question. Now, what I've done there is I've listed the language features that are only used in those particular sources. But then what I've done is I've thought, well, which language features are used in both of the sources, and I've listed them in the middle. Now you can see obviously facts, opinions, emotive language, adjectives and verbs. And like I said, the facts, opinions, adjectives and verbs would be the ones that I would immediately pick out anyway. But that's just an easy way to plan your answer before you start to write. Okay, so immediately you know, if it were me, I would pick these ones in the middle because I can talk about how the sources use the same language technique, but they use it in a different way. And then when it comes to structuring your response, this is how I would do it. I would always start with an opening sentence like, for example, both sources use language features effectively. And the reason why I would do that is because the word both tells the examiner that you are comparing the two sources. Okay, you are aware that both sources use language features. And then my paragraph 1 would start like this. So it would be you point and you would name your language feature. So if we take the example of the word a swarm from the Bryson extract we've just looked at, I would start my answer with, firstly, Bryson uses several powerful adjectives within the extract. So I'm just telling the examiner I know what the language feature is. Then you put in your quote, and I would try and embed that quote within your sentence because that is a higher level skill. So then I would say he describes the ferry as being a swarm with activity when they reached the port. So you're just describing how that language feature is used. Then you need to explain what is suggested by the words in the quote that you've chosen. So I've said here, the word a swarm portrays a feeling of the situation being out of control and that the people are acting in a frenzied way, much like a swarm of bees. It also suggests that Bryson is surrounded and is unable to escape from the situation. So I've used my inference skills to explain what is suggested by the word a swarm. And this is the bit that we really need to make sure we include in our PQEE paragraph. It's the effect on the reader. So I've said the use of the powerful adjective a swarm creates tension and adds to the dramatic impact of the extract. It creates a vivid image in the reader's mind of a packed ferry on which everyone is jostling for position. So you've got your effect on the reader, the reason why Bryson has used that word a swarm to create tension, to create drama, to create a vivid image in the reader's mind. So that's your first paragraph, your opening statement of both sources, and then your first paragraph. And then what you need to do is in paragraph 2, you need to start with your comparison. So then what I do with my other source that I was using to compare against the Bill Bryson is I would pick out the same language feature, okay? So I perhaps would say source 3 also uses powerful adjectives, okay? Or similarly, source 3 also uses adjectives but for a different purpose. So you're using your words of comparison to make it clear to the examiner that you are comparing how each source uses the language feature but in a different way. And then again, you put your quote in like you did before. You explain what is suggested by the words in the quote that you've chosen. And then you do your effect on the reader. Okay, so you do your one language feature, powerful adjectives in this case, and that covers 2 paragraphs. And then you need to repeat that 2 more times so that you've got 6 paragraphs in total. So that's what I say, do powerful adjectives and verbs, facts and opinions, and you've got your 6 paragraphs. So this is the question that I want you to have a go at. You'll need to head over to my website asiaexams.wordpress.com to get these sources as free downloads if you haven't done so already. If you've actually done my other higher tier videos, then you may have these already because these sources will have been used for the other questions. So the question will read in this way. Now you need to refer to source 3 and either source 1 or source 2. So you will always have to answer on source 3, which is the third one, the autobiographical or biographical extract, and then you choose either source 1 or source 2. And you need to compare the ways in which language is used for effect in the 2 texts, give some examples, excuse me, and analyse their effects. The examples just means you need to quote, analysing their effects means you need to do your inference, suggestion and the effect on the reader. So I want you to have a go at this question. Go through source 3 and then have a look through source 1 and source 2. Pick out your language features. Think about what is suggested by the words in those quotes. You'll need to think about the purpose of each one of those sources and why the writer has used those language features. How do they want the reader to feel in order to be able to answer this question? And then in the sample answer video, I will give you a top band sample answer for this question. Okay, so have a go at this. Time yourself the 24 minutes to see how much you can get done in that time. If you don't finish, don't worry. Continue to write your answer and then you can compare it to the sample answer I provide in the next video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, AQA Exams on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter, just follow me at AQA Exams, and like I said, head over to my website aceyourexams.wordpress.com for any free downloads, including the sample answers I provide in the videos. Thank you, bye bye.